They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. For seniors, it's actually paved with eggplants, green peppers, and mashed potatoes. You see, nobody tells you this, but some of the vegetables sitting politely in your fridge right now are actively plotting your downfall. Not in a dramatic poison your tea kind of way. No, they're slow killers. They seduce you with health claims, smile at you from salad bars, then infiltrate your knees, fog your brain, and make your legs wobble like overcooked asparagus. And the worst part, you probably think you're doing something good for yourself. That's what makes them so dangerous. They don't just hurt your joints, they insult your dignity. This video will walk you through 4 vegetables you should never touch after 60 unless you like the sound of your knees cracking like bubble wrap. Then when you're ready, we'll meet 4 healing plants, the kind of humble greens that quietly protect your mind, your mobility, and your remaining patience for modern medicine. Because after 65, every bite is either a blessing or a betrayal, and in the words of my old Buddhist neighbor Harold, I can't afford to fall again. Last time it took 3 nurses and a forklift to get me off the floor, so ready to raid your crisper drawer like your life depends on it, because it just might. Part 1. Eggplant, the purple narcissist that destroys knees and friendships. The eggplant, regal, glossy. A seductive shade of purple like it's about to ask you for a glass of Merlot and lie about its cholesterol, people love to say, but it's low in calories. Well, so is heartbreak. Doesn't mean you should invite it over for dinner. Eggplant is a classic example of what I call a charming saboteur. It makes you feel virtuous, healthy, even trendy, until one morning you realize you can't bend your knees without sounding like you're trying to start an old lawnmower. Let me tell you about Margaret, 74, a retired music teacher from Oregon who was proud of her Mediterranean diet. She roasted eggplant every Thursday, usually with olive oil and a smug smile. Then one day, she stood up from her piano bench and couldn't walk to the bathroom without wincing like she'd been hit with a garden hoe. It wasn't arthritis. It wasn't aging, it was solanine, a naturally occurring compound in eggplant that for many older adults inflames joints, muscles, and the soft tissues that keep you walking upright and unembarrassed. Solanine doesn't scream, it whispers. And by the time you hear it, clearly your ankles feel like they've been replaced with bricks dipped in glue. Eggplant affects people differently, sure. But if you're over 60, your body's resilience isn't what it used to be. Recovery slows, inflammation lingers. What you used to call stiffness is now your permanent roommate. And here's the kicker. Solanine doesn't go away with cooking. Grilled. Still there, baked, still there. Fried in artisanal avocado oil by a bearded man named Sage, still there. From a Buddhist psychology lens, eggplant teaches us something uncomfortable. Attachment to illusion causes suffering. You believe you're nourishing yourself, but what you're really doing is clinging to an idea of health that doesn't serve you anymore. This is the kind of karmic joke the universe loves to tell. Here's a vegetable that looks good for you, try it now, hobble, but listen. This isn't about demonizing food. It's about discernment. When your joints are crackling, and your balance feels like it belongs to a confused flamingo, it's time to ask, is it really worth it for the sake of Baba Ganoush? If you're serious about protecting your knees, hips, and the quiet joy of standing up without making sound effects, then let eggplant go. Thank it for its service. Let someone else adopt it. Besides, there are kinder vegetables out there, ones that don't leave you icing your legs after dinner. We'll meet them soon enough. But first, we have a few more charming liars to expose. Part 2, green bell pepper, the sociopath in your salad. If eggplant is the narcissist of the vegetable world, then green bell pepper is the sociopath. It shows up bright, crisp, and cheerful, like that overly enthusiastic neighbor who brings you gluten-free muffins, but secretly lets their dog pee on your roses. Green bell peppers don't look dangerous. They look innocent, youthful even. But behind that crunchy exterior lies a quiet chaos agent, and for seniors, it can mess with your gut, your joints, and your ability to walk in a straight line without cursing gravity. Let's talk about lectins, proteins found in many plants, especially in the nightshade family. Green bell peppers are packed with them. Now, lectins aren't villains per se. In small doses, your body can handle them. But once your gut lining starts to wear thin with age, like the soles of your favorite slippers, these sneaky little proteins can disrupt digestion, trigger inflammation, and reduce nutrient absorption. In plain terms, you could eat a perfectly balanced meal and still walk away with nothing but gassy knees and a foggy head. Take Walter, age 81, ex-Navy. Still wears his captain's hat while gardening. For years, he added green bell pepper to his famous breakfast omelet, swore it gave him vitality. Then he started getting a weird ankle stiffness every week. Guess which day? Omelet day. Turns out his vitality was being quietly siphoned away by those crunchy little con artists. And here's the worst part. Green bell peppers aren't even the most nutritious pepper. Red, yellow, and orange peppers are ripe, which means they have more antioxidants and less inflammatory lectin content. So you're not even getting the full reward for the risk. It's like dating someone who's bad in bed and emotionally unavailable. Why bother? From a Buddhist lens, this is a lesson in false appearances. We are drawn to the bright, the fresh, the colorful. But what appears wholesome may actually be hollow. What appears healing may be hiding harm. That's the problem with green bell peppers. They pretend to be saints, but they leave your digestive tract feeling like it's been through a Buddhist boot camp with no enlightenment to show for it. Now, some folks will say, but I've eaten green peppers my whole life. Sure, and some people have walked barefoot across parking lots for decades. Doesn't mean it's smart after 65. As we age, we lose some of the internal padding, gut lining, cartilage, ego, and while that can bring wisdom, it also means you don't have as much buffer against the things that once bounced right off you. So be kind to your belly, give your ankles a break. There are better vegetables coming, but first we have one more root vegetable to expose. And it's the one that wears nostalgia like a perfume. Stay close, it's about to get mashed. Part 3. White potato, the comfort food that slowly steals your circulation. Ah, white potatoes, the golden boy of American dinners, mashed, baked, fried, scalloped like your ex, who always knew how to show up just when you were most vulnerable. There's something comforting about them, isn't there? They remind us of holidays, warmth, simplicity. But the older you get, the more you realize something terrifying. That mashed potato on your plate is not your friend. It's a clingy ex disguised as comfort. It's tasty now, tragic later. Let's strip away the gravy and talk. Science: white potatoes are pure starch bombs. They're high on the glycemic index, which means they spike your blood sugar faster than a teenager with a credit card and no limit. What happens after that? Blood sugar spike, inflammation, nerve damage, stiff arteries, and eventually, that subtle tingling in your feet that isn't just getting old, it's pre-diabetic neuropathy, and it's sneaking up on your legs like a lazy mugger. Take Raymond, 77. Former welder, lived on meat and potatoes. Kept me strong, he said. But when his doctor asked why he couldn't feel his toes anymore, Raymond just shrugged and blamed cold floors. Turns out his beloved potatoes were quietly chewing through his circulation, like termites in an old porch. And don't get me started on fries. Add deep frying oil and salt to the mix, and you've got the dietary equivalent of spiritual self-sabotage. They don't just damage your arteries, they damage your resistance to common sense. From a Buddhist point of view, white potatoes represent our most dangerous cravings, the ones that come wrapped in nostalgia. They make you feel safe, seen, soothed. But they're keeping you tethered to the very suffering you're trying to transcend. Craving isn't evil, but when it blinds you to truth, it becomes bondage. You eat potatoes because you want to feel like you used to, young, full, cared for. But every bite is a subtle betrayal of the present moment. The one where your body is whispering, "Hey, maybe let's not eat glue disguised as comfort tonight." Now are sweet potatoes different? Yes, they're rich in fiber, beta-carotene, and have a lower glycemic load, but white potatoes, they're like that friend who always invites you out for one drink and leaves you barefoot on a sidewalk wondering where your wallet went. So here's the truth. You can't grow old gracefully if you're still eating like you're 30. You're not trying to impress your taste buds. You're trying to outlive your prescription list, so drop the white potato. It's not a meal. It's a memory that turned toxic. And now, before we enter the healing garden, there's one last deceiver we need to deal with. Red, juicy, beloved by all, and quietly plotting against your joints. Yes, it's time for the tomato. Part 4, Tomato. The red siren that sings to your gut, then wrecks it. Tomatoes are seductive red, glossy, juicy. They whisper, "I'm heart healthy, I'm Mediterranean, I'm practically a love language." But here's the truth. If eggplant is a narcissist and green pepper's a sociopath, then the tomato is your ex who leaves you breathless and bloated. Because for many seniors, the tomato is a silent saboteur, triggering inflammation, messing with digestion, and making arthritis worse, while acting like it just wants to cuddle. Let's start with the basics. Tomatoes, like eggplants and peppers, are nightshades, which means they contain solanine, that sneaky little chemical we mentioned earlier. But they're also acidic, which adds a second punch, especially if your gut lining is already thinner than your patients at the DMV. Mild acid reflux. That's tomato, random knee swelling after your healthy pasta night. Tomato, sudden morning stiffness that makes your hallway feel like Everest. Yep, tomato. Let me introduce you to Eleanor, age 79, retired librarian, polite Catholic, and until recently, a tomato soup loyalist, every night grilled cheese and tomato bisque. Then came the arthritis, the swelling, the joint pain. She thought it was just old age. Her doctor blamed genetics. But when she gave up the tomato soup, her symptoms peeled away, like, well, the skin of a tomato. Tomatoes aren't evil. They're just manipulative. They show up in all your favorite foods: ketchup, salsa, marinara, smiling sweetly like a bad habit you never questioned. But here's the Buddhist truth. Not all pleasure is nourishment. Some of it is just attachment wrapped in flavor. You see, tomatoes play on memory. They taste like childhood, like summer, like spaghetti dinners with people who maybe aren't here anymore. But sentiment isn't a health plan, and your joints don't care about your nostalgia. If your body is whispering, "No more of this," and your brain is yelling, "But it tastes like home," Buddhism would say, observe the craving, thank it, then let it go. And maybe replace it with something that doesn't swell your knees like overstuffed luggage. Here's the bottom line. If you're over 60 and dealing with random joint pain, acid reflux, or a sense of betrayal from your salad, it might not be your age. It might be your favorite red liar. So say goodbye to the tomato, or at least cut back. Your gut will thank you, your knees will bless you, and your future self, well, she might actually enjoy standing long enough to cook again. Now that we've uncovered the 4 false prophets of your fridge, it's time to meet the true saints, the real healers. The vegetables that don't just make you feel good, but keep you upright, clear-headed, and gloriously independent. Let's enter the healing chapter. The 4 vegetables you should eat if you want to stay strong enough to outlive your in-laws. Part 5: Broccoli, the tiny tree that grants you an extra decade. Broccoli doesn't flirt. It doesn't beg for attention. It just stands there quietly, a little green monk on your plate, arms folded full of wisdom and sulforaphane. And unlike the narcissistic eggplant or the gassy chaos of green bell peppers, broccoli doesn't lie. It doesn't make false promises. It simply shows up to save your joints, your heart, your bones, and your dignity. Here's the deal: broccoli contains sulforaphane, a compound that sounds like something you'd clean your garage with, but is actually one of nature's most potent anti-inflammatory and detoxifying agents. For seniors, sulforaphane is like calling in a karmic cleanup crew. It sweeps out the inflammation, clears blocked pathways, and gently whispers to your cells, you don't have to decay just because the calendar says so. Take Bernice, 83, wears orthopedic sneakers like battle armor. Every day for the past decade, she's steamed 1 cup of broccoli and eaten it like a sacrament. She doesn't do it for flavor. She does it because she hasn't had a fall in 12 years. Her doctor asked what meds she was on. She smiled and said, cruciferous vegetables and spite. Broccoli also has vitamin K, calcium, and a cocktail of antioxidants that protect bones, heart, and brain like tiny microscopic bouncers. And here's the Buddhist kicker: broccoli teaches discipline without drama. It's not flashy, it doesn't seduce. It just quietly helps you walk better, think clearer, and maybe live long enough to see your great-grandkids graduate steamed lightly. Broccoli retains all its healing compounds. Boil it to mush, and you've murdered the monk. So treat it with respect. Let it stay vibrant, firm, a little stubborn, like your favorite grandparent who still drives. Stick broccoli is, in a way, the bodhisattva of the vegetable world. It doesn't work for itself. It works for your future. It shows up every day, even when ignored. Ready to stabilize your legs, soften your arteries, and extend your timeline. But of course, in classic human fashion, many seniors say, I don't like the taste. To which I say, do you like the taste of falling in a Walgreens aisle and not being able to get up? Taste isn't the measure. Freedom is. Broccoli is a path not to enlightenment maybe, but to fewer medications, sturdier steps, and a life where you can still put on your own socks. So eat your tiny green trees. Water them with a little lemon juice and let your body bloom in return. Now, if broccoli is the monk in the forest, our next vegetable is the engine under the hood, quiet, leafy, and surprisingly sexy. Let's talk about spinach. Part 6: Spinach, the leaf that gave an old nun her swagger back. Spinach doesn't scream for attention. It's not neon-colored or aggressively Instagrammable. It just sits there quietly, humble, green, slightly wilted, like the retired kung fu master of the vegetable world. But underestimate it, and it will outlift your grandchildren. Spinach is packed with natural nitrates, which don't just make your blood vessels smile, they make them dance. These compounds expand your arteries, improve circulation, and feed oxygen to your brain and muscles like a spiritual IV drip. At 25, circulation is a background process. At 75, it's the difference between getting out of a chair gracefully or sounding like a haunted accordion. Let me tell you about Sister Marianne. She's 91, lives in a convent in Wisconsin, and walks 4 miles every morning in silence. When asked what kept her going, she just said, spinach smoothies and a clean conscience. But between you and me, the conscience is optional, the spinach is not. Spinach feeds your legs. It sharpens your mind. It helps prevent cognitive fog, brittle joints, slow reflexes, and that dazed moment when you open the fridge and forget what species you are. It also contains lutein and folate, 2 compounds that nourish the brain and support memory, emotional balance, and processing speed, which means you can still remember where you left your keys and why you walked into the kitchen in the first place. From a Buddhist lens, spinach is about sustainability without ego. It's not flashy. It doesn't need to be. It reminds us of the power of the middle path. Gentle, consistent, essential. Now preparation matters. Don't boil it into green sludge and cry about your childhood. Lightly sauté it, blend it, or toss it into an omelet if your wrist still works. If broccoli is the bodyguard, spinach is the strategist. It supports the inner highways, your circulation, your cognition, your gut, and says, hey, let's stay present, let's stay upright, let's stay human. It also does something most people forget about entirely. It protects your vision. With lutein and zeaxanthin, it shields the macula of your eye, the part responsible for recognizing faces, reading signs, and not mistaking your neighbor's cat for your handbag. So yes, spinach can keep you strong, but more importantly, it helps you keep seeing what's worth living for. Add a handful a day, not for six-pack abs, but for the right to keep climbing stairs unassisted. Because in old age, the most beautiful sentence is not, you look great for your age. It's, I didn't fall this week. Now we've met the monk and the strategist. But what about the visionary? The one who guards not just your eyes, but your balance, your brain, your next 1,000 steps. Let's bring in the carrot, part 7 carrot, the spiritual flashlight that keeps you upright and unashamed. If broccoli is the monk and spinach is the strategist, then the carrot is the seer, the spiritual flashlight tucked quietly into your crisper drawer. Carrots don't show off. They don't puff themselves up like kale. They just lie there with the quiet confidence of something that knows it's been saving lives since the first cave painting. And at your age, you don't need new superfoods. You need something ancient, honest, and orange. Carrots are full of beta-carotene, which your body turns into vitamin A, a nutrient so important it might as well have a temple built in its honor. Vitamin A protects your vision, your immune system, your skin, and the kind of dignity that comes with being able to see where the hell you're walking. Because let's be honest, after 65, vision isn't just about seeing sunsets. It's about not confusing your medication bottles or tripping over the cat and falling into a retirement home. Let me tell you about Pete, age 85. Former bus driver, current line dancing legend. Pete eats 2 raw carrots a day. He says it's for the crunch, but we know the truth. Pete still drives at night. Pete can thread a needle. Pete recognizes his grandkids on the first try. That's carrot magic. And here's what makes it even better. Carrots also support balance and coordination. Their antioxidants protect neurons and blood vessels. So the signals from your brain actually make it to your legs without getting lost, like a tourist in the mall. From a Buddhist lens, carrots are about clarity, clarity of sight, clarity of mind, clarity of spirit. They say enlightenment comes when you see things as they are. Well, try doing that without your vision intact. Carrots also stabilize blood sugar and improve digestion, and unlike tomatoes, they're not dramatic. Unlike potatoes, they won't betray you. And unlike most modern life advice, they're actually useful. You don't have to juice them, spiral them, or read a 45-page blog post to figure out what to do. Just wash, crunch, repeat. And they're delicious raw, which means no cleanup, no cooking, and no chance to overthink it. Simple, honest, like wisdom should be. So next time you feel wobbly, anxious, or dim-eyed, grab a carrot. It won't solve your existential dread, but it might keep you from mistaking the mailbox for your nephew. Carrots won't save your soul, but they'll keep your body strong enough to carry it. And now, we arrive at the 4th and final vegetable in our circle of trust. He's not polite, he's not pretty, but he's the stinky spiritual bouncer your body needs. Let's talk about garlic, part 8, garlic, the stinky monk that cures you while insulting you. Garlic doesn't care if you like it. Garlic is not here to be loved. Garlic is here to purge demons, inflammation demons, blood pressure demons, loneliness demons. Garlic is the grumpy Zen master of vegetables, pungent, unforgiving, and deeply healing. It's not elegant. It doesn't arrive in smooth packaging. Garlic arrives like your bluntest friend, smelly, intense, and spiritually correct. Packed with allicin garlic is nature's antimicrobial hitman. It reduces blood pressure, thins the blood, kills off harmful bacteria, and gives your immune system the backbone of a retired Marine. Let me introduce you to Frank, age 86. Widowed, walks 4 miles a day, drinks nettle tea and chews raw garlic like it's gum. He hasn't been sick in 12 years. He also hasn't been kissed in 13. I choose strength over softness, Frank says. And anyway, nobody messes with me on the bus. Garlic doesn't just protect your immune system. It keeps your blood moving, it improves circulation, reduces the risk of clots, and keeps your arteries flexible. Which, if you're over 60, is the difference between dancing at your niece's wedding and being wheeled in like a sad cake. From a Buddhist lens, garlic represents the unpleasant truth that sets you free. It's the teacher that makes you uncomfortable on purpose. It clears out the ego, the toxins, and the parasites, literal and emotional. Now you don't have to go full Frank and eat it raw unless you want to be feared at community centers. You can roast it, crush it into soups, or stir it into olive oil. Just don't microwave it. You'll kill the allicin and make a monk weep. The magic of garlic lies in its duality. It's offensive to the senses, but sacred to the body. And isn't that just like aging? A little smelly, a little cranky, but filled with wisdom if you're brave enough to embrace it. Let garlic remind you that not all healing is gentle. Sometimes it stinks, sometimes it burns, but on the other side is vitality, clarity, and fewer prescriptions. So if you want to walk strong, think sharp, and scare away everything from vampires to viruses. Say your mantras, light your incense, then take your medicine. 2 cloves of garlic and a deep, fearless breath. Now that you've met the 4 vegetables that will carry you through your 70s, 80s, and if karma allows your 90s, it's time to reflect. Because all this, it's not just about food. It's about how you choose to age bitter and swollen or strong, funny, and a little smelly in the best way. Let's close this journey the way any good spiritual comedy should, with a few uncomfortable truths, a little grace, and a bowl of broccoli nearby. Let's be honest. You're not aging badly because of your birthday. You're aging badly because your refrigerator is full of betrayal. It's not your fault entirely. You were told vegetables were always good, but so were a lot of things: smoking margarine and marrying for stability. The truth is, every bite is a decision, a vote for strength or for struggle, for standing up on your own, or waiting for someone to pull you off the floor like a sad jellyfish. And here's the deeper Buddhist lesson: your body is your last temple. Not your retirement plan, not your reputation, just this flesh and blood vehicle limping toward wisdom. You don't need to chase youth, you need to protect clarity, preserve mobility, and make peace with the garlic in your soul. You've met the liars, eggplant, green peppers, white potatoes, tomatoes, and you've met the guardians, broccoli, spinach, carrots, garlic. Now it's your turn. Clean out the fridge, light a candle, bless the produce aisle, choose vegetables that want you to live long enough to outgrow your bad habits. Because growing old isn't the problem. Growing old in denial is. So chew wisely, walk lightly, and remember, it's not about dying young as late as possible. It's about living awake for as long as you can, preferably while still fitting into your shoes.